November the 11th, 2018, a new twist in the F1 tale unravelled. Forget Crashgate, forget Spygate. Ocon-gate began. The man, the Mercedes young driver, tipped for greatness without a seat for 2019, did what could arguably be seen as the unthinkable. Lap 44, Lewis Hamilton's number, Max Verstappen leading the Brazilian Grand Prix. Hamilton disrespected in the home of his hero, Ayrton Senna. Mercedes, they couldn't allow that. And so, like I say on lap 44, Esteban Ocon, the Mercedes young driver, given the code, the go, to take out Max Verstappen, smashes him off the circuit, blows him up, multiple pictures coming your way, absolute disrespect from the Frenchman, destroys Max Verstappen. Verstappen going for his 6th ever win, Ocon going for the pride, for the chance of a race seat. How dare he? Young Max, innocent bystander, just winning. That's all he was doing. And you know what? Gloves were off at the end of the race. No holding back. Big scrappage in the Weybridge area. The Weybridge, a lot of damage in that zone this weekend. Max giving it to Ocon like he deserved. But justice, that was not served. Who was to blame? Find out in a minute, because we're going to discuss that right now. Alright, so welcome to my slightly late, I suppose, race review for the 2018 Brazilian Grand Prix. Busy weekend for me, really busy weekend. My first big exam for university, so that's why it's a little bit later, this review. But if you're watching this review a couple of years down the line, then you don't care about that. You don't care how late this was. You just want to know about the main talking points for this weekend. So I'm not going to do my usual race rundown. I'm not going to do any of that malarkey. I'm just going to focus on the main stories of this weekend and hopefully give you guys a bit of an insight to my thoughts on some of the big dramas this weekend. So qualifying, we'll start off with qualifying, a very, I suppose I want to call it a bog standard qualifying, but it wasn't really. Bit of rain here and there like we love to see in Brazil. Hamilton coming out on top, the pole master himself. No real surprise there. Big stories in qualifying, maybe the Red Bulls. I could point out the Red Bulls weren't quite on the pace. It was Hamilton on pole from Vettel, Bottas and Raikkonen. Hamilton, during qualifying, well, against the Williams of Sergei Sorokin, a very dodgy move, blocking Sorokin. I won't go through it all because you've heard it a million times, but Sorokin on an outlap, Hamilton on an outlap. Sorokin almost went to overtake Hamilton. Very strange. Do I think Hamilton should have got a penalty? I do. I do actually think Hamilton should have got a penalty. I'm not a Hamilton fanboy. I'm not a Hamilton hater. I quite like Lewis. I definitely think he's in, well, the top 2 drivers on the grid. I would happily say that. And, you know, being world champion, that backs me up there. But, I mean, it's difficult because he thought Sorokin was on an outlap. But at the same time, the swerve he made, I feel he should have just stuck to his guns and stayed where he was. It looked crazy. It really did. But the reason I really think that Hamilton should have got the penalty was then a few laps later, he did the same thing to Kimi Raikkonen. And if you're doing that twice in a session, then something seriously is going on. Whether that's Bonnie, whether that's Pete Bonington not giving him the right information over the radio, whatever's going on there, that needs to be ironed out quickly. And that was a perfect chance for the FIA and the stewards to say, right, we're not going to allow this. We wouldn't let a driver like Kevin Magnussen, who you can see on screen right now, we wouldn't allow him to do something like that. So why should they let Lewis Hamilton do it? Well, they let him get away with it. I mean, well, I suppose actually it did have a big effect on the end result of the race because Hamilton was able to have a very comfortable first stint of the race, obviously taking the win at the end. So, I suppose, yeah, that had a big part to play. Also, the FIA in a bit of controversy regarding Sebastian Vettel. Vettel was chosen at random, like they are, to go onto the weighbridge during qualifying. Sebastian not very happy about this because of the changing conditions. It was wet to dry, wet to dry. Finding the perfect time was very difficult. He wasn't happy, drove onto the weighbridge, damaging it, and then drove off of it rather than being pushed on and off, which the marshals and stewards out there, they generally do that themselves. They push it on when the engine's off. Vettel ended up destroying the weighbridge and had to pay a £25,000 fine, but no penalties, which I think the manner of which he handled that situation was very ugly, to be fair, and I think a penalty again would have been fair. So I think both of them very, very lucky in that instance. Another talking point in qualifying was Charles Leclerc and Sergei Sorokin. Sorokin, that incident with Hamilton, obviously, but getting into Q2, great job from him, and at a time where he needs to be fighting for his seat for next year, brilliant job from Sergei. But Charles Leclerc, I'm sure you've seen it, was it Q1 or Q2? I believe it was Q2. End of Q2, changing conditions, it's getting wet, no one's improving, and he tells the team that. They say, oh, just come in, man, come in, you know. Good effort, we'll try next time. And he says, no, one more lap, let's give it a bash, Changing conditions, wet surface, and manages to get into the top 10. A fantastic effort. Marcus Ericsson ended up beating Charles Leclerc in qualifying, getting 6th on the grid after Daniel Ricciardo's penalty. So that was the story of qualifying. Like I said, this is a little bit of more of a mishmash sort of race review, but I just want to get it done now and focus on the main talking points for you guys, which unfortunately my man Romain Grosjean wasn't involved in any major talking points, though a double points finish for Haas was very juicy. But the race, a great race, plenty of overtaking. We had Verstappen and Raikkonen on the opening lap. Vettel going backwards throughout the race. Bottas managed to get the better of him at the beginning, and you know what? Before the race, my money was on Valtteri. I thought, you know what, if Mercedes have the pace like they look like they might have, on the better tyre to start off the race, I could see, I don't want to say Hamilton letting Bottas through, but maybe Mercedes allowing a strategy that's kinder to Bottas to sort of repay him for what happened in Russia. I could have seen that happening, and to be honest, I think I can see that happening next time out in Abu Dhabi. We'll just have to wait. But Bottas ended up going backwards as the strategy in the race went into the latter stages. The Ferrari's tyres came alive. The Red Bull's pace came alive with Verstappen and Ricciardo just flying. Bottas went backwards. He ended up doing a two-stop along with Sebastian Vettel. Those two really struggled this weekend, especially Sebastian. Really seems defeated now at the end of this year, and I think going into next year he'll have to try and recharge his batteries as much as he can and come back fighting, because that's 2 years in a row now where he's had a car to win the World Championship but hasn't been able to do it. So he's going to have to do a lot of thinking for next year, especially with teammate Charles Leclerc coming in. Let's talk about it then. Let's talk about the Ocon Verstappen incident. I've not spoke about it, and you know what? This has probably been one of the biggest controversies in F1 since I've been on the YouTubes, I imagine. I'm trying to think of anything more crazy in terms of on-track incidents. I think this is up there. This really is. Maybe when Verstappen and Ricciardo made contact in Azerbaijan, that could be up there. But I think this one is really confusing people. Now, I want people to know that the beginning of this video doesn't reflect my actual opinions. That was just, I don't know, I just thought I'd have a bit of fun. Just try something a little bit different at the beginning. But let's talk about my actual opinions. Let's be a bit serious for a minute. Serious voice now, serious talk. Adults are coming in the room. I know I don't usually act like one, but we're here now. Right. Max Verstappen leading the race. Esteban Ocon, new fresh tyres, super softs. Verstappen on the softs. Ocon, with the straight line speed of his car and the Mercedes engine, is catching Verstappen at quite a quick rate. His team give him the go to overtake Verstappen. Verstappen goes defensive to say, Ocon, yeah, you can come round, man. Ocon then goes around the outside, mid-corner. Verstappen cuts him off. Sorry if that hurt your ears. Cuts him off. Incident. Verstappen round, Ocon round. Hamilton, who really didn't look like he was going to be challenging for the lead once Verstappen got past him, managed to retake the lead, go off into the distance, and win the race. Verstappen, after the contact, was able to get back going again, but needed a few more laps to try and catch Hamilton. I'm not too sure really where I put the blame for this one. I'm really not. I'm being totally honest here. Part of me wants to call it a racing incident, which I know is a little bit on the fence, guys, but I really am. Because Ocon is allowed to overtake, right? Let's get that out of the way. We're all aware of this. Ocon is allowed to overtake Max Verstappen. That's fine. That's number one. Number two, Ocon was quicker, which, you know, it's sensible. It's not like it's not like Max was overtaking Ocon and then Ocon did it, because if that was the case, then yeah, I would say 100% this is Ocon's fault. But the fact that Ocon was behind Max comfortably, Max went defensive to say, yeah, you can come, almost giving Ocon mixed messages at the end of the day, saying, yeah, you can come round, mate, hurry up, let's get it done, and then squeezing him off the circuit. I mean, I don't quite understand that. We know the two have a big history throughout Formula 3. Those two were big rivals back in 2014, I want to say, 2014. Big rivals. Ocon coming out on top, but the rivalry between them isn't the best, let's say. I think that definitely had a part to play in the incident. I really do, but I really do think it's a racing incident. Ocon, like I said, you could argue that he should have backed out, but I'm coming from the fact that Max has gone defensive, so he's letting him through. And if you then put yourself in the mindset of Ocon, you think, oh, he's letting me through, let's just keep on going. You know, and like Ocon said, he overtook many drivers at that area all weekend. I don't actually have any pictures of onboard Esteban Ocon, but you can see here how much Verstappen pushed him onto the grass. And you know what? I'm glad I waited a few days to do this, because my initial reaction was, yeah, Ocon was a crazy man. What was he doing? But having watched the onboard, having seen that Ocon went to overtake Verstappen in a sensible way, Verstappen went defensive, giving Ocon the message that he can go through. Then halfway through the DRS is saying, nope, you can't. Ocon doesn't have time to react to that. And so I'm afraid, even though I've been bigging up Max Verstappen now for quite some time, really do rate him, and I still think he's one of the best on the grid, this was, I don't even want to say it was a Max mistake. I don't think it was. I really do think it was a racing incident. And it was both of their faults, really. Because I think many people are right, and I'm trying to be on both sides here, because I really am stuck in the middle. Ocon could have done it people say he could have done it in a more sensible place. But then I think, well, surely along the main straight that was the most sensible place. But then obviously going around the outside of the centre S isn't really the best for that sort of manoeuvre. Arguably, he was not fighting for anything. Hamilton said in the race debrief that, you know what, Max, you had everything to lose. Ocon had nothing to lose. And I think Max will learn from this. You know, which I don't want to say is a shame, but I think commentators always say it. We all know it. When Max is in your mirrors, you're worried. You know he's going to go for this and going to push you out the way. But Ocon, I think, I suppose, is woken him up a little bit. Made him realise that, you know what? Not everyone's going to yield. Especially when there's a history there. But it's a real confusing one, guys. It really is. But if I was going to put blame on anyone, I've got to lean towards Max a little bit. I really do, which I know goes against a lot of people. I know that, and I'm aware. And you know, like I say, I'm not saying Max is a bad driver or anything, because he is brilliant, and he deserved to win this weekend, and I might as well say it, he was my driver of the day. Despite the incident, he was that impressive. But it was the mistake that I don't even want to call it a mistake, it was the incident that cost him the win, and I can share his frustrations so much. I really can. I don't believe any of the conspiracy stuff. I really don't. But it's a difficult one, for sure. And having a few days to think about it, yeah, I think I am in the right state of mind now to say, yeah, it's a racing incident. It is. You know, it's awful getting in a tangle with the back marker. But at the same time, if you're putting yourself in a position to do that, I mean, very easily, Max could have just let him go around the outside and on his way. Max even said on the radio that the Force India was catching him, so he was aware. And if I think, well, I'm being 100% honest here, if I hadn't seen the onboard, hadn't heard the team radios, and seeing it live, yeah, I thought it was Esteban's fault. So hopefully that clears up my thoughts, but I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. I know this is going to be a spicy one, a juicy one, so I'd love to know. I know it's a little bit late than always, but hopefully you have enjoyed. Oh yeah, driver of the day, Max Verstappen. I always do 3 drivers of the day, so Max Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo, and Stoff Van Dorn. Very impressive drives from those 3. And then out of 10, 9 out of 10. Really enjoyed this race, one of the best of the year, and I'm going to have a difficult time this year picking a top 5 races. I really am, because there's been some absolute crackers this year, and this was a one-stop race as well, so that really just adds to it and puts on the pressure that, you know what, not all one-stops are bad races. So really enjoyed this race. Next time out, last race of this season, so that should be fun. But guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.